You know, when we think about finding dinosaurs, we usually picture, well, big bones sticking out of the ground.
Right, the classic desert dig site image.
Exactly. But the dinosaur we're talking about today, Animantarx, its story starts completely differently, with a radioactivity survey. No bones visible at all.
It's an amazing hook, isn't it? Really makes you think about what else is hidden.
Totally. So today, we're doing a deep dive into Animantarx, this fascinating armored dinosaur from the Cretaceous.
And we're basing this on the scientific literature, the papers that detail how it was found, how scientists classify it, and what it tells us about its world back then.
Our mission really is to get under the armor, so to speak, understand what makes Animantarx unique, figure out where it slots into that huge dinosaur family tree.
And what its discovery reveals about the whole ecosystem it lived in. It's a pretty cool puzzle.
Okay, let's start with the name itself, Animantarx. It sounds, I don't know, quite epic.
It does, and it means living citadel.
Ah, okay, that makes immediate sense. You picture this walking fortress.
Precisely. And it actually ties back to an older idea. A paleontologist named R.S. Lowell had already described ankylosaurs, the broader group, as animated citadels.
So Animantarx is like a specific nod to that general description.
Exactly. It really emphasizes that heavy armor. Very fitting.
And the full name, Animantarx romaljonisi. There's a story there too, I gather.
Oh, absolutely. The Romaljonisi part, the species name, honors Romal Jones. He's the one who actually did the radiological survey that found it.
Wow, that's a great way to recognize the discoverer.
It really is. And there's another layer, too. His wife, Carol Jones, she discovered Eolambia, another dinosaur from the same general area and time.
No way. So a husband and wife team both finding dinosaurs in the same place.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. A real dinosaur-finding family legacy there in Utah.
That's amazing. Okay, so this living citadel, Animantarx romaljonisi, what did it actually look like? Give us the picture.
All right, imagine a plant eater moving pretty slowly on four legs. Think like a prehistoric tank. It's a nodosaurid ankylosaur. Now that means it's covered in that body armor, bony plates, scutes embedded in the skin.
Right, the armor is key.
But importantly for nodosaurs, they didn't have that big bony club on the end of their tail like some other ankylosaurs did.
Ah, okay. No tail club. Size-wise, was it huge?
We know the skull was about 25 centimeters, so maybe 10 inches long.
Yeah.
Based on that, the estimate for the whole animal is probably not more than 3 meters or around 10 feet.
So decent size, but not one of the giants. Respectable.
Definitely respectable. A well-protected herbivore.
You mentioned it had some unique features, too, things that really set it apart.
Yes, a few things stand out. The back of its skull was very distinctly domed, kind of rounded on top, which is pretty unusual for ankylosaurs.
Okay. Domed skull.
It also had these little horns, small ones, on the bones behind the eye socket, the postorbitals, and also on the quadrilaterals, which are down near the jaw joint.
Little horns. Interesting. Anything else?
Yeah, and this one's maybe the most intriguing. Its lower jaw, the mandible, it only had armor plating at about half its length.
Only half. That seems odd. Why only half?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't really know the why for sure. It's
Yeah.
just a feature that's quite different from many other armored dinosaurs. It makes you wonder about specific feeding habits or maybe defense strategies.
Definitely a puzzle piece.
Mm.
Okay, let's circle back to that discovery. The radiation thing. How does that even work? Measuring radioactivity points you to a buried dinosaur.
It sounds like science fiction, almost. But Ramal Jones was doing this survey, basically scanning the ground for radiation levels.
Right.
And he found this one spot, just a localized area, where the readings were higher than the surroundings.
Okay. Why would that be?
Well, the thinking is that during fossilization, the minerals that replace the original bone can sometimes contain trace amounts of radioactive elements. Uranium is a common one.
Ah, so the fossil bones themselves become slightly radioactive over millions of years?
Exactly. Not dangerously so, usually, but enough to be detected by sensitive equipment. So that higher reading was like a beacon saying something chemically different is buried here.
And when they dug?
Bingo. They found Animantarx. And the key thing, as you said, was that absolutely nothing was visible on the surface. No bone fragments, nothing.
Wow. It really drives home how much could still be hidden right under our feet, completely invisible.
It absolutely does. It suggests we might need more than just our eyes sometimes. Maybe other prospecting techniques like this have a bigger role to play.
Like a high-tech treasure map, literally. So how much of Animantarx did they find? Did they get the whole skeleton?
Unfortunately, no, not a complete one. So far, it's still just the one specimen.
Just the one.
Yeah. And what they recovered includes the lower jaw, the back half of the skull we mentioned, some neck and back vertebrae, and bits and pieces of the limbs.
So enough to tell it's unique, but still some missing pieces.
Definitely. It gives us a lot of crucial information. But a complete skeleton would, of course, tell us even more.
Okay, so we have this unique, partially armored-jawed, dome-skulled nodosaur found by radiation. Where does it fit in the grand scheme of dinosaurs? We know it's a nodosaurid.
Yes, its place within Nodosauridae, the family of armored dinosaurs without tail clubs, is pretty solid. That's generally agreed upon.
I sense a but.
Well, the but is about its precise relationships within that family. Pinpointing its closest relatives is still, let's say, a bit debated among paleontologists.
Ah, the classic scientific debate. Love it. So what are the different viewpoints?
Okay, so one major analysis, a big study looking at lots of ankylosaurs, didn't actually place Animantarx specifically within its final family tree diagram.
Oh.
They classified it as Nodosauridae interticetes.
Incerticetes, Latin for.
Of uncertain placement. Basically, they're saying, look, we're sure it's a nodosaurid, but we can't confidently say exactly which other nodosaurs it's most closely related to right now.
And why the uncertainty?
They pointed to some of those unique features we talked about. The rounded bumps above the eyes, the specific shape of part of its shoulder blade. These characteristics made it tricky to slot neatly into the existing groups.
So its uniqueness makes it hard to categorize precisely.
You got it. It throws a bit of a wrench in the works when trying to build that perfect family tree. Understanding where it fits could tell us quite a bit about how these nodosaurs diversified.
But you also said some studies do suggest a closer relationship.
Right. There are a couple of other studies, independent ones, that both came to the conclusion that Animantarx is very closely related to Edmontonia.
Edmontonia, another nodosaur.
Yes, a pretty well-known one. These studies suggested Animantarx is the sister taxon to Edmontonia.
Sister taxon, like evolutionary siblings.
That's a great way to put it. Sharing a very recent common ancestor, closer to each other than to other nodosaurs.
Okay, so maybe it's an Edmontonia cousin or sibling. And wasn't there another group mentioned? Panoplo something?
Panoplocerini, yes. Another phylogenetic analysis, this one from 2018, specifically looked at this subgroup within the nodosaurs, and it placed Animantarx right within that group, Panoplocerini.
So who else is in that club?
According to that study, it would be alongside dinosaurs like Panoplosaurus, Patagopelta, Texacetes, Denversaurus, and, crucially, the different species of Edmontonia.
Ah, so that lines up with the sister taxon idea. It suggests Animantarx and Edmontonia are part of this distinct branch of nodosaurs.
Exactly. While there's still some discussion, the picture emerging is that it likely belongs to this Panoplocerini branch, closely allied with Edmontonia. We're gradually zooming in on its place.
It's fascinating how scientists piece this together, like assembling a massive ancient family history from fossil clues. Now let's talk about where this living citadel actually lived, its habitat.
Okay, so the fossils came from eastern Utah, specifically from a layer called a Mussintuchit member.
Mussintuchit member,
Yeah.
part of a larger formation.
Yes, part of the Cedar Mountain Formation. And based on dating the rocks, this layer corresponds to the late Albian through early Cenomanian stages.
Which translates to roughly.
Roughly 106 to 97 million years ago, so squarely in the late Cretaceous period.
And Utah back then? I'm guessing not the dry desert we see today.
Definitely not. All the evidence points towards a floodplain environment.
Floodplain. So rivers, maybe swamps.
That's the picture. They found fossils of things like fish and frogs alongside Animantarx. Plus, the rock itself is mudstone, the kind of stuff that settles out of slow-moving water.
So a wetter, probably much greener environment than modern Utah.
Absolutely. Likely crisscrossed by rivers, prone to flooding, supporting a lot more vegetation for herbivores like Animantarx to eat.
And Animantarx wasn't the only armored dinosaur found in the Cedar Mountain Formation, right? You mentioned others earlier.
That's correct. It's actually quite rich in nodosaurs, but they tend to show up in different layers, different time slices.
Oh, interesting. Like who?
Well, in the older yellow cat member, you find Gastonia burgei. Then there are possible remains of Sauropelta in the poison strip member. And in the Ruby Ranch member, which is younger than those, but older than Mussintuchit, there's another Gastonia species, Gastonia loriumquiniae.
Wow, so it's like a succession of different armored dinosaurs living in the same general region over millions of years.
Precisely. It shows how the fauna changed over time.
And where does Animantarx fit into that sequence?
It's found in the youngest member, the Mussintuchit, along with another nodosaur called Pelluroplates.
Okay, so Animantarx and Pelluroplates are the latecomers in this Cedar Mountain nodosaur story.
Right. And finding these distinct nodosaurs in different layers really supports the idea that the animal communities, the faunas, were different at different points in the formation's history. It wasn't just one static ecosystem for millions of years.
That makes sense. Ecosystems evolve. Now, there was also a mention of a possible link to Asia. How does that fit in?
Yeah, this is a really intriguing idea. When scientists look at all the fossils found in that youngest Musentuchet layer, not just Animantarx, but other dinosaurs, reptiles, mammals, some of them show strong similarities to animals known from Asia from roughly the same time period.
Similarities how? Like close relatives?
Yes, suggesting close evolutionary relationships. This has led some researchers to hypothesize that there might have been a land connection, maybe a land bridge, allowing animals to move between Asia and North America around 100 billion years ago.
A dispersal event. Wow.
Potentially. So Animantarx, being part of this specific Musentuchet fauna, could be part of that bigger story evidence of ancient intercontinental migrations.
So this one dinosaur discovery potentially opens up questions about global animal movements. That's incredible.
It really puts it in a much larger context.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together. What are the main things we should remember about Animantarx from this deep dive?
Well, first, it's this medium-sized, heavily armored nodosaur. So no tail club living in late Cretaceous North America.
Right, the living citadel.
Second, its discovery is super unique, found via that radiological survey, not by sight, which is a great reminder of how many fossils might still be hidden.
Definitely.
Third, it have those distinct features, the domed skull, the little horns, that weird half-armored jaw, makes it stand out.
The unique puzzle pieces.
Fourth, its exact spot on the nodosaur family tree is still a bit fuzzy in cities in some views, but evidence points towards it being closely related to Edmontonia, likely within that Panoplocerini group.
Okay, getting closer to pinning down its relatives.
And finally, it lived in this wet, floodplain environment in Utah, part of a changing ecosystem over time, and maybe even part of a larger story involving migration from Asia.
A lot packed into one dinosaur. So we're left picturing this 10-foot armored creature, this living citadel, moving through a lush, wet, maybe slightly radioactive landscape from 100 million years ago.
It's a powerful image.
It really makes you think, if Animantarx was found this way, completely hidden, what else is out there? What other secrets are locked in the rock, just waiting for some, I don't know, unconventional method to reveal them?
Absolutely. And thinking about those different nodosaurs layered through the Cedar Mountain Formation, what does that pattern really tell us about how these armored giants moved, evolved, and responded to environmental changes over those millions of years?
Yeah, lots to ponder there. Definitely makes you appreciate the layers of history beneath us.